Big up, and welcome back to Liberal 12 Band Show. We're going to talk about the preseason. Had to take yesterday off, but we're going to talk about, it was an interesting game. One that obviously saw a lot of the action happen later on in the match. Let's discuss a little bit about the game, talk about some of the comments the coach made after the match. Also speak on some of the things that are going on right now as well in the transfer world. Shout out to Dustin and shout out to Red for Life for sure. Definitely big up to each one of you that is with us today. You might have a panel. It might be just me and you flying solo. So again, let's look into this, with all due sense. I know that a lot of people will say, that it's only a preseason match and it is what it is with the preseason matches and everything else. And don't get your, knickers all in a bunch, as they say, I guess, or something like that. So I'm not going to go that far with it when it comes to analyzing and over analyzing some of the events from our preseason match, but might not hand out trophies, but it does deliver some clues. And in Japan, it gave us a few clues as to, what we should and could expect in this upcoming season. Big up, Red Armchair Supporter, by the way. Big up. I'd say some of the pleasant surprises is from the 16-year-old wonder kid who might just force Arnie Slot's hand, to our 79 million pound striker looking anything but settled just yet. And I'm hoping that he will. Shout out to AR, by the way. There's a lot to dig into, but before we dig into it, please, as I always say, or I'm going to start always saying at least now, help us in our hit our community goal of 50 likes. It tells YouTube that this content matters and continues to show, keeps the show growing. If you're here, you're part of the team, you're red, and it means something. So smash the like button if you can. But let's just get right into it. There was a bunch that we could break down. I guess since I'm solo, I'll kind of break down a lot more than I was planning on doing, because 3-1 victory over Yokohama and Marinos, and Slot opened up with a very grounded take on the match. This is from the press conference, at least. He praised the level of intensity from Yokohama, a team already mid-season, which is notable. I mean, they're in mid-season. So despite this being preseason for us, this is this is almost like an all-star break in essence for them. Clearly more acclimated to the heat and humidity of Japan at the time. But that was exactly the kind of test we wanted to see, I think. At least I wanted to see. He was encouraged by our response after falling behind 1-0. It was a good goal by Yokohama as well, calling it a continuation of resilience we showed so many times last season. That bounce back mentality, you know what I'm talking about, still alive and well. But Slot handed out very few flowers, let's call it that, because he did say it was certainly a reality check. He called out some defensive lapses, especially lack of urgency in sprinting back after we lost possession. Something that we've been. Look, if we're going to get caught on the counter, we got to definitely recognize the fact that it's going to take recovery to make sure that you can at least try to, mitigate the problem, or to mitigate what we had to go through. I agree with Lady B, by the way. That pitch was horrendous. You saw lots of chunks of grass up. And that's interesting too, considering that it is, again, a professional stadium in Japan, and it is something where they're going through some real in the middle of the season. So it should be decently maintained. Shout out to Lady B, by the way, and shout out to Cedric as well. But calling out the defensive lapses is important, I think. We need to recognize that. We need to tighten it up. It even emphasizes more, to me at least, the need and necessary attention to be drawn towards a center half. getting a center half in the camp, and also having them acclimate to the team and to the system that we have. While he acknowledged the heavy training load and difficult conditions, he made it clear we need to sharpen up before we face Bilbao, and more importantly, Newcastle at Wembley, which will be very, very important. Or I said Newcastle, excuse me, Crystal Palace at Wembley. Now let's talk Rio, because the last thing any of us would and should or could do was blame it on Rio, because he was absolutely phenomenal. Boss had high praise for the 16-year-old, calling his impact off the bench a clear sign of quality, but without really giving him too much of blowing up his head. What I appreciated most, Slot didn't sugarcoat it. He pointed out a moment where Rio should have squared the ball to McAllister or Curtis, but he's not just celebrating the goal. He's laying the foundation for development. I think that's very good coaching. You don't want to, you want to take a young player, allow for him to develop, but not allow for them to get too wrapped up in all the praise and glory, because right now that's exactly what Rio is seeing, and is really definitely figuring out on his own. And it's not going to be an easy figuring out, because at 16, 17 years old, it's, you're getting the world thrown at you. And people have high praise and high promise for you. So I also wanted to shout out another Youth Academy player that arrived to the team before Rio did, and it already started making a little bit of ground, and that is Trey Nyoni. I thought Trey Nyoni was phenomenal in this game as well, which was really, really good to see. No other way to put it. Jeremy Frimpong's involvement in the buildup was key. Curtis Jones, I get it. He kind of was fortunate that he didn't really involve himself with the the pass that was going, I think, initially to Curtis, but didn't, or at least he allowed for it to continue on. The blend of youth and experience was good and promising to see. It's exciting to see it forming early. And if anything, it's exciting because that's two role players, two possible squad players that we can try to implement into this team. And not saying that they need to be starters, not saying they need to be like regular contributors, but they certainly need to be a part of the focus of this club going forward with their development. It's overly abundant that they need that. Let's move to leadership. Slot confirmed he's chosen the new vice captain and already informed the player. Now, I do have another segment coming up that's going to talk about that a little bit more, but he praised the structure of this team, and the full squad hasn't been told yet of who it is. I think some of us have an idea of who it's going to be, but he emphasized how valuable it is to have multiple experienced voices in the locker room. Obviously, you all know that we do. We have plenty of captains for their national teams in the locker room. He hinted that we could see more leadership structure changes before the window closes, which is an interesting statement. I don't know exactly what that means, but it is very interesting. He did give praise, by the way, to Yokohama FM. Slot was respectful and optimistic. He praised their structure, their pressing, and said if they keep playing like that, they'll rise from their current spot near the bottom of the J League, possibly to even higher. He said it was top class. Finally, a beautiful moment. He spoke about why he handed the captain's armband to Wataru Endo during the match. I thought it was absolutely awesome moment. Definitely shout out to my Ichiban number one. Endo got the armband during the match. Slot called it Endo, the embodiment of professionalism. A player accepts every role last season without complaint. also showing up when needed, whether it was 1 minute or 15, did not matter. In Slot's words, he was one of the reasons we won the league. And let me emphasize that. He was one of the reasons why we won the league. That's from our coach. That's the kind of quiet heroism that often goes unnoticed, certainly goes unmentioned. But I know that a lot of us in the chat, a lot of us, myself included, always do give proper praise to those players that, they might not be big on the stat sheets. They might not be the names that get all the praises because they've got these eye-watering numbers with tackles, or I'm going to say tackles because he gets quite a bit of tackles, but with all these eye-watering goals and assists and the likes, the kind that make the papers. He still is one of those players that puts his heart leaves his heart on the pitch every day, every time. So shout out to my Endo and to your Endo as well. And when asked if he reflects on what he's accomplished in just over a year, a league title, a global fan base, obviously us behind him, Slot said he had time to enjoy it during the offseason, but now it's all about what's next. Full focus on the new season, full focus on Wembley, and full focus on bringing more silverware back to Anfield. So really, really good to see. Really, really good to see. It was a very professional press conference. It was some very measured answers. He didn't hold back any punches, like I said earlier, about how that we've got to focus more on the defense, got to focus more on what we need to do with our team. And I'm glad that he isn't really trying to shelter these players, because there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of not only pressure from the fact that we're the defending champions, but also there is a lot hanging over this year, this upcoming campaign, obviously with the loss, with the departures of certain players. And just the sheer fact of it's not going to be it's not going to be an easy ride at all, and I don't think any of us expect it to be, but it should be something of an interest. Red Armchair Supporter, we don't technically know who the new vice captain is, but that was going to be something I was going to say in the end, but we do have some ideas. If you stay with me, I will get to that segment and bring you that information as to who it's been apparently narrowed down to as who is going to be that actual vice captain. Very, very important role on this team because you represent the club when it comes to importance and to leadership. I wanted to open up the conversation really, really with my Blame It on Rio segment. The 16-year-old who stole the show, I think. Rio, 16, signed for Chelsea originally. And now, after we were able to, I can't emphasize this enough. I don't know if you guys believe it or not, but I just can't emphasize it enough. I think that it was out of the unfortunate circumstances of us having a lot of injuries that year when we were going into that League Cup. And I mean a lot of injuries. A lot of key players were unavailable for that League Cup game. We were fortunate enough to have already throughout the season have placed a lot of responsibility in our youth academy, filling in for wherever they had to, having the character, having the knowledge and building of knowing what it was to be a Red and to possess that professionalism on the pitch. I say it was important, and why it was really, really important, why I'm bringing up, that past instance, is because from Klopp trusting these players and almost having to trust these players, maybe he would not have done so if he didn't have to do so, but he did, and he still made it a point to trust them. we've gotten some emergences of players, whether it's Bradley, obviously Kwanzaa's moved on, but Bradley, whether it was some of the others that have taken on the mantle of maybe not being with the team currently, but have certainly were important, like Clark in that games, for instance, and that's what's important to see now, because it's continued to develop into these players. It's continued to evolve into allowing these players to not only get minutes, but sometimes get starting minutes. Trey Nyoni started in a League Cup game for us. Rio got to play in a FA Cup game for us before this. That's important experience, and to be, keyed on as being a resource in that is certainly immensely important as well. So his goal was more than just a goal to me. I thought it was a real symbol and a symbolic moment for him that showed that he is ready for the bright lights. He's ready to just allow for you to really not get let the butterflies in his stomach mess with him too much. It's not easy. It's not easy being on that plane. But he had a little stunner that I think has the fan base buzzing and the first team door wide open, possibly. I'd say certainly as a alternative to that left wing role that we most likely and most assuredly will see either Cody or maybe even Florian Wirtz assume during the season. Big up Spirit of LFC fans. Big up to you. Big up. I think I said hello to Jimmy, but just in case I didn't, big up Jimmy. The question is, though, Slot couldn't deny the quality he showed, even while highlighting learning moments. Let's be honest. I talk about that he needed to do that square pass, the square ball to I think it was to Curtis Jones. But learning moments are that we're going to have growing moments with him, of course. Big up Rasta Crab, big up. But what should Liverpool's plan be for Rio? We spoke on this before. I had a little segment in a previous episode. And the big question was, where do we place Rio on this team? Is he someone that's going to make that list of 20 players? Or is he the person that you substitute in when there's a absence in the team, whether it's for personal reasons or whether it's for injury? Is that the only time you're going to see him? I'd love to hear what you guys got to say on that. But I'm really wondering where he fits in, because you never want to press a player into too much responsibility. I know that you have your Miles out there that have hit the ground running and looked phenomenal at such a tender young age. But that's just it. It's a young age, and you don't want to burn out a player, and you don't want to overburden, himself with a lot of responsibility, with a lot of asking him of things to ask. And that's the real question. That's the real question for me and for you in the chat. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Big up Redbird. Big up Redbird. Red Rasta Crab is saying still a bit young, but don't want him to get any major injury either. Yes, certainly true. That's certainly true. I mean, you could even ask, could we, and I'm not saying that Ben Doak's story is over, because it's certainly not. I think Ben Doak's got a promising future. But if we try to push this player a little bit now, a little bit early in his career, could this be another Ben Doak story in the sense of like, a young player getting some injuries and somewhat curtailing his pathway towards really building up the confidence, the strength, and the experience to be a real, shoo-in for our first team, or a real shoo-in. Because I get, as Rasta Crab is saying, not with Liverpool, Doak is halfway out the door. Jimmy's saying, yes, we must take great care of him. He is a special talent. And that's the point. Ben Doak is a special talent, I believe. And I just think that Ben Doak, unfortunately, has some unfortunate injuries. Injuries can happen to anyone. Don't get me wrong. But there was a lot that we were trying to. At one point, he was going to be our right wing alternative for whenever, which wasn't going to be too often, but for whenever we did sit down Salah, we were the way that Klopp had positioned it, he was going to be a candidate to take over that role. And that's why I'm bringing up like this Ben Doak, I guess, journey, in that, unfortunately for him, he's gotten some injuries that have really maybe curtailed his pathway towards playing for us. I know Crab says he's halfway out the door, possibly, but he's certainly a player that I think was I just think that exactly what Rasta Crab's saying. Doak was highly rated, but Doak got injured at the wrong time. I don't want to see that happen to this young man. You could easily say, for instance, if you don't like using Ben Doak as an example, how about we use Kai Gordon? Kai Gordon was destined to play on this team for the most part. He was certainly going to be a player that was going to see real playing time. He was possibly the highest prospect in the group, but injuries really have limited Kai Gordon, and it's a shame because there was a lot of promise with him, and I think we all remember he got into a couple of games. He looked good. It was like he's just young. We knew there was going to be more to come, and he got injured, and then he had to fight back and work his way back, and then it was a bad injury, and it took a lot of time for him to get back to the level. I don't know if you go about this how to approach this is the biggest question. Do you go in this with, like, I guess you could say kids gloves in a sense? Do you baby step his progression into this club, or do you just say, you know what, this kid's got the talent to play. Let's see what he can do on the pitch when given the opportunity. I am personally leaning more towards the latter. I'd like to see him play. I think he's an incredible talent. I think that he would be someone that could certainly bring some pleasant surprises on the pitch and really be a wild card when it comes to teams not knowing how to really take on, because I don't think he's gotten it in his mind as to, like, he's going against possibly some of his heroes, some of his role models. So Jordan eBay was a super talent. He got all messed up mentally and injuries killed his career. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Red for Life says the young boys will get minutes, but they have to be protected. I agree with that completely. Jimmy says, I read that comment out already. Red Armchair Supporter says, I say ease him in low pressure games. Yeah. I think he'll definitely be involved. Him and Trey, by the way. I think Trey Nyoni is at a stage where he should be involved more often too. I think both of these players will be involved in our lineups, but I think in League Cup games, maybe early FA Cup games as well, they'll get maybe involvement in some way or somehow, either as a starter or at least as a actual substitute. But it's interesting. It's interesting the case of, to be 16 or 17 years old, or 17 all over again. All right, there. He's got a bright future ahead of him, and I think it's really, really exciting to know that he's a Red. He could easily be still blue. But again, why I brought that memory of our League Cup also wasn't just because Jurgen Klopp gave these players playing time. It's also because the act of giving these players playing time and showing some pathway towards the senior club, I think has really set a precedent with youth academy players throughout all of England, and especially with Liverpool, because Liverpool have made from what I've been reading, Lisa, we've re-emphasized our efforts to focus on young England talent. As in, if we're going to build our youth academy, it's going to be through English talent. It makes it easier to get them registered. It makes them easier to be able to, do the moving them around or having their families move in whatever they need to do. It's just that much more easier. But because we did emphasize bringing these players playing time, now some players want to play here. Youth academy players look at the apps, the choices out there. Yeah, you could play in Chelsea's. Chelsea has an incredible youth academy program. Square in London, sure they're going to have lots of players. Then again, they got like 30, 40 people in their senior roster. You're 16, 17 years old, and you're thinking to yourself, like, I'm not getting into that senior club. So it's just one of those cases. It's just certainly one of those cases. But give me one quick second. Give me one quick second here. All right. Thank you for your patience. I'm back. All right. Sorry about that. So, Ekitike. We talked about the good. Let's talk about a little bit about the bad, I guess. I'm not being overcritical. I'm not trying to say that he's a bust at all. I'm just addressing what was out there, as in a lot of the reviews that I saw. And I'm not talking about the ones from rivals, because that's just asking for fire. That's just asking for disappointment, asking for the fire and the brimstone. But Ekitike is going to be a project. Ekitike is going to be someone that we're going to have to show patience for. And I'm hoping that those that took the route of showing patience or trying to show the due diligence with our current number 9. I'm hoping that you can show a little bit more patience with Ekitike. He debuted last night, 45 minutes, had a nice back heel attempt. Some decent movement with Salah, which is good to see. But overall, a little bit frustrating. Hooked at halftime. Most likely was going to time anyway, so it's not necessarily like saying anything super dependent upon his performance. It is a preseason game, so I wouldn't expect many players to get a full 90. But Arne Slot says it was pre-planned. but obviously we're all going to hear for 79 million pounds. Fans are going to expect more. They're going to hear the rumblings of our rivals. They're going to talk their mess. They're going to try to sow the seeds of doubt. It's silly in my opinion. But when it does look like something of some. It looks like a major difference though when you have Ekitike go out there and not really gel or mesh with the team exactly, and it's understandable because it's his debut. But then you have Nunez come on to the pitch, and all of a sudden, we have some connectivity. We have a spark. We have a spark to that match. And now all of a sudden we have fire, and he instantly provides that urgency. And of course, some of us are going to have our eyes wide open when it comes to those cases. I'm sure I'm going to get some pushback. There's not many episodes that we go without mentioning number 9, but all the same. Big up, Philip. Big up, Philip. Good to see you. Let me see what you got to say as well. What do you think of all the Mamardashvili so far, guys? This is Jimmy asking. He says he knows it's early days, but he makes him a little nervous. I don't think that Mamardashvili is a sweeper keeper. If you want to ask, this is just my opinion, Jimmy. I don't look at him as being a sweeper keeper. I look at him being a more traditional keeper, a shot stopper, if you want to call it that. And when it comes to being a goalkeeper, I think he will do well. I think he'll be good. If we're going to have a system where we're going to, play the ball back to the keeper and have to have him, be able to distribute and be able to play with the ball at his feet, might be a little bit of a learning curve for him to get through. So he reminds me, in my opinion, he reminds me of like a Courtois in a sense. Not saying he's Courtois level. No, don't get twisted. But what I mean by that is that Courtois focuses so much on his goalkeeping. Courtois is not exactly, in my opinion, Courtois is not exactly the best with the ball at his feet. He's not the person that's going to be like, delivering, quick counters and the likes from passes that he makes from his own box. So Ekitike, was anyone? I know you want to talk about Mamardashvili, but was anyone have any opinions on Ekitike's performance? Was it? Are you willing to be patient, basically? Which is what's going to be needed because he's going to have to gel. A lot of these players are going to have to gel. Some of them, it works. Some of them just automatically blend. But with Ekitike, for striker, having to know the tendencies of not only the players around you, but yeah. I don't know what Scunthorpe. I don't know what that means. You have to explain that a little bit more, Dara. Let me see if I can look it up. I don't know what that means. It's like a town in England, I know that, but oh, okay. It's in Lincolnshire. Okay. I think he's just being facetious or being trying to be funny. I'm still optimistic as to what we'll see out of Ekitike. I know it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see what happens if we do pick up Isak, how we play Ekitike, whether it's at the lone striker role, whether it's with a striker as a striker duo, or maybe even on the left side, which he can play as well. I'm very optimistic to see what he can do. And I'm hoping that hoping he blends in very well. I'm definitely hoping he blends in well. But some bright news from yesterday, or from the game, I should say, was that Wirtz got his first goal, people. We can all push that behind us now. We don't have to do the goal watch thing where you have to be like, oh, when's he going to get his first goal? When's he going to get his first goal? That's done. That's at least done. Wirtz opened his Liverpool career, or his Liverpool account, however you want to look at it, and he did it with composure, which was cool. I mean, when the pass came through, I thought it was originally going to be for Jones. I think Jones kind of got it, mixed up with his footing a little bit. Couldn't get his feet right, so the ball continued on. Wirtz was able to just step into space and absolutely just, slotted home. It was an easy shot. It was from pretty much dead center in the pitch, and then also he was able to curl it in, and it was absolutely a great shot. There were flashes of link-ups with Salah, some silky dribbles. His signature set-piece delivery was there. But in truth, it was a mixed bag, I guess you could say. The Tokyo Heat didn't do any of us any good. And the bobbly pitch, if you want to call it that. I know that Lady B mentioned it. I think AR mentioned it also. The pitch was pretty poor. It was pretty poor. You could see clumps of grass, clumps of turf up and this kind of like, out. Looked more like the British Open or something like that, or Japan Open maybe, or something like that, than it did with all the divots and the likes in the pitch. And I'm glad that no one got injured, whether for Yokohama or for us, from that pitch, because sometimes playing on a pitch like that, you could easily get hurt. Red for Life is saying he's going to be patient with Ekitike, but he needs to catch up quickly. Hopefully we see a bit more composure and quality in his next performance. Yeah. I'll ask this: if we see the same kind of like, the same learning segment, or the same question marks pop up with him, how long do you give him before you start being, I wouldn't say overly critical, but being constructively critical with him? When does that happen? Because we are going to need him to click into gear, and especially if this coach is going to do what he did with Jota, in the sense of saying, allowing for a player to kind of play games and kind of figure it out on his own, whether he's in form or not, just allow for him to keep getting those starts again and again, and hoping that he can get into the action. It's going to be interesting. I also wanted to ask, though, being as you saw Wirtz in this game, what role should Wirtz take on for this team? What role should he take on? Should we play Wirtz out on the left? Should he be our starting 10? Should we allow for Dominic to start and kind of like ease him into eventually taking over that 10 role? I don't know what exactly it's going to be. Slot's got a lot of questions that are going to be easy to answer. Scott's got a lot of questions that aren't going to be easy to answer. Red for Life is saying, give Ekitike a season with rotation and a decent amount of minutes. I have no issues or problems with seeing that happen. I would love to see him get a season of rotation, not be thrown in as a starter, or, to be looked at as being, the responsibility of being a starter and having to, do all the duties of being a starter. I don't want to see that. I'd rather see him either be utilized in a formation that we could take advantage of our opposition because of whether it's, again, with two strikers, or maybe with him out on the left, or maybe because of his skill sets that he just becomes the option at that center striker role. But I'd much rather see him be a rotated feature in this lineup until he can get the pace, the physicality, get everything in line with his teammates and be able to really, really prosper with the club and the formation and with the Prem in general. But I would like to know, what role should Wirtz take on? I would love to know what you guys think, which role he should take on. Should he be a starting 10? Should we allow for Dominic to be that 10 and for him to be eased into becoming eventually the starting 10? Or do we maybe even throw Wirtz out on the left side? Maybe do something along those lines. Or do you maybe place him as have a 10 and then have a shadow striker? I don't know. It could be a lot of different things that could happen. Be a lot of different things. Let's see what you guys think. Jimmy is saying there is a lot of getting into a stride for the team with all the additions. They will settle better when back home. Long flights and hot weather, not ideal. Plus, those pitches were dire. That they were. I agree. That they were. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that any more than what was said right there. The pitch was poor. Maybe a little bit of home cooking, back home, comforts of your own bed. Maybe that does a little bit of what we need to see from the players, or at least from some of the players that struggled a little bit. We did mention, I know that Jimmy asked about Mamardashvili, and I guess you could call it depth in motion, which is showing our depth, because Mamardashvili was our keeper. Nyoni, Endo all played well, showing our depth. Mamardashvili only had to make one real save all game. And it was a stunner. Like I said, I think that we have a real goalkeeper on our hands. I think Mamardashvili is an excellent shot stopper. The near post claw away, which is what he did, showed his reflexes and why Liverpool's recruitment team really rates him so highly, as do I. I mean, the Euros were something of a showcase for him. Then there's Trey Nyoni. He scored, played strong. And what I mean by played strong, he was physical, linked up beautifully. I'm glad to see he's putting on a little bit of bulk to his frame. Slot gave Endo, as I spoke on earlier, the captain's armband and praised his example. It was a very proud moment to see that, especially being that it's in front of his nation, and that says a lot about the trust in this group. Really, really does say a lot, and it was well deserved, by the way, by Endo. That wasn't just a mere thing of pageantry. It was more so, I think it was symbolic of the appreciation that this club and this coach has now certainly gained. I mean, for these players, a lot of them already had the respect for Endo, but this coach, having been his first year of knowing what Endo is going to be bringing to the fold, I think it was a real sign of appreciation for him to do so. Mamardashvili and even Trey Nyoni, are they now serious squad options for the season ahead? I think Mamardashvili is going to be our keeper that is going to be on our bench as our second keeper. Yardos is a good player. I don't know if he is a better keeper than Mamardashvili. I think we've lined up Mamardashvili to be that heir apparent to Ali. And I know that Ali has some personal issues that he's dealing with back in Brazil. He had to leave the team and go and deal with it. It's unfortunate because he'll miss out on obviously some important time with the club and gelling with the club, getting back into form and shape and the likes. But family comes first, and whatever he is dealing with, we wish him the best. I know I do. I'm sure that you do as well. And a quick return to the club is what we'd all like to see. So whatever it is, Ali, we do wish you the best. But again, with Mamardashvili, I think he's an obvious candidate. I don't know if people think that elsewise. Trey Nyoni. I like Trey Nyoni. I think there's a real player there. Solid player. I wouldn't go as far as saying he's got that wow factor that a lot of people were attaching to Rio. But that's just because I believe Trey's game is more structured and more of he brings a more solid approach as opposed to Rio, who is to be more of a when you see Rio, he tends to be more of like the flicks and tricks and such, and he's like more free of his game. He allows for his game to go here or there. Big up, Mark. Big up, Mark. And big up to Anfield Roar, by the way. Thank you for joining us. But I'm excited. I don't know if I would say as geeked about again, I don't know if I would say I'm as geeked as I am about some of the other performances I've seen, but I still think that there were some really, really notable and really, really good performances out there. Really, really good performances. I see Lee is in the house. Big up, Lee. Big up. If you want to join us, Lee, if you have time, I put the link in the chat if you want to join us. But still got a couple more segments to go. But yeah, I thought that Mamardashvili was decent. Now, obviously, the mix-up with the pass was very, very Bush League. It was poor. And there's no getting around that at all. There's no getting around that at all. I thought that if there was oops, let's say what's up to Nalante. See, Nalante is just chiming in. Yeah, if you're gonna look at it that way, yeah, it was poor. I don't know what he was thinking or what any of them were thinking in a sense, because it shouldn't have been the case. However, we get beyond that. Again, I think that we're all going to have to show some patience in him, hopefully learning to be able to, how do I even put it? I'm hoping that he can learn from the likes of Ali, of having the ball at his feet. Oh wow, you guys are gonna be in for a big surprise and treat because you got Scouse Lee with the camera on. By the way,
wow. You can see me. You can see
big
me.
Big up. How are you
Cheers,
doing?
guys. Yeah, good. Excellent. Club's doing well. The fan base is doing well. We're all happy. Good times, good times.
We're champions. How can you not be? Right? I did see the Dave OC Cop news. I believe if you're referring to the ESAC news, I saw that. But I didn't see this news, though. I didn't see the whole X is saying ESAC isn't coming as Newcastle can't get a replacement. That is not ESAC's problem. You know what I mean? That is not ESAC's problem.
It isn't, is it? But it's got to the stage now, hasn't it, where I'm not saying like like he's definitely coming, but it's got to the stage now with him, hasn't it, where, you know, their fan base, most of them have turned against him now, like, and want him to leave, don't they? And want, you know, the only thing is, it's just the replacements, isn't it? We're struggling, like, they're struggling to buy players, and a lot of the ones that were available have gone. We're talking about Whistler, aren't we? And maybe Nicholas Jackson, the two of them could be signings that they could make. If Sesko goes to United, that would leave the way clear for them to buy Nicholas Jackson, maybe, to add to Johan Wissa, which would give them two new forwards at least to play with, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I see it as one, and this is all due respect because we have some really cool Newcastle fans or supporters that tune into this channel that are cool when it comes to the light banter that we might go back and forth with, but primarily being respectful to each other, which is cool. And this is why I say this all due respect. Unfortunately, I think Newcastle wants to have the accreditation of a Manchester City since they have the kind of ownership group that Manchester City have. However, unfortunately for them, Newcastle isn't a destination club. It's not like it's a place where you're like, if you're thinking of going to England, most likely there'll be 5, maybe if not 6 other clubs that you would prefer to go if you're trying to produce your brand or whatever you want to call it, you know, or if you're looking to possibly even contend for Europe or contend for trophies. Newcastle isn't in that top, certainly isn't in that top 4. I don't, unfortunately, I mean, like that's just the honest truth.
Yeah. I'm not
and
sure.
Even with Manchester, I was going to finish by saying, even with Manchester United, as poor and as bad as they are right now with their aspects of winning anything, you still have to say that the heritage and the allure of Manchester United still rings heavier than a Newcastle would. And that hurts that's a real deficit in their recruitment when it comes to trying to bring in players.
Especially when they can offer Champions League football this season that Man United can't. But it just goes to show that Man United are still a big draw for players with their name.
Yeah, absolutely. If Sesko rather go to United, and there's no done deal, but let's just say hypothetically, if Sesko chooses United over Newcastle, that says a lot. Sesko rather go to a club that finished 15th in the league, is not going to be playing in Europe, still has to work out a ton of things, has disgruntled players, still trying to formulate themselves into the system that the coach plays with three at the back. You know, so many different questions and problems. Yet here you have a player saying, you know what, I still think that the program is better to go to than Newcastle. That's an issue. It's a real issue. And unlike City, who used their wealth and used maybe some alleged underhanded practices, let's call it that. They're not going to get away with that kind of stuff now in this league. They're just not. They can't set up dummy accounts or offshore accounts that are like, paying players or, allegedly playing players and coaches and the likes. They can't do that. They got to be above board and show how they're making the revenue and show how they're going to be able to bring the revenue in or bring the players in. And it's just not the case.
The problem for Newcastle so far is they've targeted like players that has other options, better options. They've targeted like Ekitike, they've targeted João Pedro. Maybe they're going to have to look, a level below that, a little, like, to get players in.
Yeah.
Just don't know, because like Eddie Howe as well, he's not like that big a name, is he, to attract foreign players like Sesko, whereas Amarin is actually still, he's a big name, isn't he? Like, sort of thing. And, like,
agreed. Great point. That's a great point. Yeah, there's not many players are going like, I've always grown up wanting to play for Eddie Howe. Like, that's just not the case. He's a good coach, but it's just not the case. And unfortunately, that's a reality that they have to be in grips with, Yeah. You bring in a higher profile name, and then maybe that opinion changes slightly,
Yeah, but if they had, say, somebody of the profile of Mourinho, like, maybe it'd be different.
Yes. I'm surprised Mourinho didn't go all out for this coaching gig rather than go to Italy, to be honest with you. He would have had the backing of the club. But maybe it's because Eddie Howe is more of a company man than Mourinho is.
Mm.
Who knows? Who knows? Shout out to all that are joining us, by the way, and riding the Liverbird high above the clouds with us. We got Nalante right now as well, joining the pilot crew. How you doing, Nalante?
Yeah, all good. All good. Well, big up Lee as well. Big up the chat. Summer holidays over here, this side, so school. So I've got the twins staying with me, getting on my nerves. But that's parenthood. But
you got double trouble. You got double trouble with you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I tell you. Don't let me start. I'll tell you what.
All good.
But yeah, big up everyone.
I asked so some of the things that we already spoke on, but I'll ask some of the questions that I did try to get some of the chat to answer. I'll just kind of review some of it before going on to this next section. What do you think, Lee? What do you think Liverpool's plan should be for Rio this season? Should it be first team integration, or should it be, up and down between academy and to keep him accessible? I don't want to see Rio go out on loan, for instance. Maybe you do, but I don't want to see him go out on loan. I think it'll be better for him to stay with the club, be able to be accessible for games like League Cup games, or even possibly some Premier League games as well. But I don't know if he makes that team sheet, that 20-player team sheet, consistently. So obviously you do want him to get some playing time. So it would be kind of like allowing for him to continue this growth and continue playing in the academy, but also continue to possibly play with the senior team club. Or maybe you just have him as a senior. He practices with the senior club, but just doesn't get any really minutes with the youth academy. What do you do with him? What do you do with Rio? Or am I blaming it on Rio? That's what I'm calling him now.
It's a bit of both, what you say, to bring him in and get him blooded, but also for him to still play in the academy. We want to do it, do it the right way with him, like bring him in the right games and that. But I want to see him in league games. I don't want to just see him in the cup. I do want to see him given late sub appearances in league games to see if he can, because if he can come on and like win us a game from the bench by creating or scoring. Do you know what I mean? He could take off really quickly, but I want them to take it easy with him. Yeah, and not expect too much from him. But what he showed on the tour is that he can beat a man easily. So you have that late in games, in tight games. So I could see him hopefully getting some league action as well as cup games, and quite a bit of it hopefully as well. It just depends how it goes. How Sloth feels about the numbers in his squad and that, how much he uses the younger players. But we'll wait and see. It looks good anyway from the tour. From what we've seen on the tour, it looks good. He looks right in the mood.
Yeah, looks very promising. Yeah. Milante, somewhat the same question. I know that earlier I was going back and forth a little bit with Rasta Crab with the streets in my analogy, but I was asking, you take a young player like this and you want to get him involved, you want to continue his development and you want to see him play. But, you could have, and this isn't a knock on Ben Doak, because I think Ben Doak is a promising player still at the stage of his career, even if it is a little bit of him in his second or third recovery or rehab, recovery type thing with injuries. But, with Ben Doak, at one point he was going to be our, deputy right wing possibly. And with Klopp at least, and because of injury, it ended up taking him out of that possibility. And then he looks at another season, looks like it plays well out on loan, and it looks like it's going to be another chance for him to really, really implement his skill. And he gets another injury. It's just been unfortunate for his pathway. You could utilize Ben Doak's story, maybe even I even said you could even bring up Kai Gordon's story, which is very similar in the sense of a youth academy player that had phenomenal promise, but yet has somewhat, filtered out of the immediate future of Liverpool, which he was going to be a future player for us, most likely. But now with his injuries and the likes, it took him away. Do you possibly jeopardize, or not jeopardize, but do you possibly take the risk of that same story happening with such an incredible talent in Rio? Or do you just say, what, roll the dice and let's just let the cards lay where they lay?
Big up obviously Jimmy and Red Chili in the chat. Big up yourselves always, man. Low people. Look, we discussed this a little bit on the Irishman's channel. Look, my thing with Rio is that I personally would wait till the following season to unleash him, in my opinion. In terms of this season, I agree with you. I think the academy should still be playing in the academy with some integration to the first team, like some cup games here and there, depending, and then again, depending, and then injury rise, maybe. Maybe a game where we can feel, this is a game where you could put him on the bench and he can come on for the last 10 to 15 minutes and stretch his legs if needs be, if we need to go there. But I would say, like Lee said, I think what you're trying to say, the academy and maybe a little bit first team cup games and maybe a league game here and there, depending on the circumstances. Yeah,
exactly. I just said maybe depending on maybe there's an absence for some reason for a player, or maybe you just need some real squad rotation, or maybe it's an injury, something along those lines. Yes, okay, but I don't know if I put him in that 20, that team sheet, that 20 player team sheet immediately, consistently, like you would other players. That's my point, and certainly not obviously not as a starter, but as in even as a sub. Would be maybe pushing it too far. Okay. I did talk about Ekitike, but I don't know if you guys want to talk about that or not. It's not a big deal. I'm not really sweating his performance. I think that obviously there are those out there that are going to try to push that performance as meaning something. I don't think it's going to be that. It's a preseason game. You work out the kinks in these games. If it was a game during the season, then we're talking a different story. But I don't think there's any reason to bring that back up. I was going to ask you your opinion, Nalante, on Wirtz, and We're already seeing a little chemistry developing between Wirtz and Salah, which is promising. With that said, do you think he should still be maybe played out left? Or do you think that he should be the starting 10? Or do you think that we should have Dom start the 10 and then ease Wirtz into that role as being our starting 10? Maybe you have him as a shadow striker. Where do you really envision Wirtz playing for this team?
Good night, Jimmy. Have a good one. So,
yeah, good night,
peace out to Jimmy.
Good night, Jimmy.
Yeah, for me. In terms of Wirtz to 12, I'm just going to answer this pretty simple, man. In the 10. Let him do what he's good at. And yes, he can play other positions if needs be, but let him do what we bought him for. Pretty simple, straight cut for me. And we just have to sort around him.
Okay. Is that the same for you, Lee?
Yeah. I mean, he can play in quite a few positions for us and probably will this season, but it's just exciting, isn't it? Especially with Ekitike as well. Even if we don't get Isak, I mean, I'm still excited by what we've already got. It's well enough to be going on with. We want to make it better, but, for now, it's good enough. Like, I can't wait to see it, I can't wait to see it when the season starts against Bournemouth. We'd be without Gravenberch, won't we, for Bournemouth? So I'd imagine Endo would stand in, or... for Gravenberch, do you think it'll be Endo who plays on the opening day?
Good question. It's a very good question.
I think so. And funny enough, if you don't mind me, 12 speaking on Endo.
I was about to bring up something about Endo.
But go for it.
No.
You go for it.
Say what you're going to say, and then I have a follow-up question about Endo. So cool. Go ahead, say what you're going to say.
I think I was speaking in the Anfield Irishman. Sorry, excuse me. In Brian's obviously Anfield Irishman, great chat, and we're speaking about Endo, and I think with Joey and some other people on the panel in terms of Endo. Why there's no point playing at Endo, and Endo doesn't fit into slot system. He's not progressive enough with the ball. We don't need an actual DM. And look, the thing is, again, with this Endo, look, and I think Lee, you remember this. Remember when we linked with him, I wasn't the biggest fan. I was thinking it's like lastminute.com, and obviously 12 vouch for him. Hard him, you and JK. Big up JK, wherever you are. Vouch for Endo.
KJ was.
Oh, sorry, Kate. No, JK.
No, KJ was. JK definitely gives props out to Endo.
Oh, KJ as well, yeah. Oh, as well.
KJ
okay.
was originally when I was getting on the flack on the Coppice channel for trying to say give him time and blah 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 blah. He'll be like one of those what do you call them, those not role model just role players. Like he'll be a good squad player. He'll be like
squad player,
but he could emerge into being like one of those squad icons or something like that. No, squad icon, but
very valuable, like a Milner.
Yeah,
in a sense,
unsung heroes. One of those unsung heroes. That's better. How about that for the team? I was saying how he's going to be like that. Being just a supporting actor. KJ had my back. He was.
Him as well. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay,
and then JK verified it by saying that his friends, and especially him knowing the Bundesliga,
I remember
he was a solid player.
Yeah, no, 100%. I remember that. But because I remember you two mentioned, and I wasn't keen on him, but look, he came and he did the job. And I think someone on the panel was saying, "Oh, but where did he finish?" And my thing is, that's not Endo's fault where we finished. That's nothing to do with him. And he came on, and he came out of well. Obviously, he's going to play games. But he came in, he was a starter for us. He played well, and even last season, he didn't really get the game time he needed, really, which he should have started certain games. He's only at the end when the league was done, which is, you play who you don't play, and he should have started certain games. And my thing is this with Endo, certain people on the channel were, not impressed with him, this and that. If that's the case, why didn't Slot sell him this summer? So, I mean, Slot is more, he's open-minded, isn't he? If he doesn't like you, he shoots. So it's not. And
There
people
was
say
no
the
big
10.
number. There was no. He was getting offers for around what we paid for him. So I mean, it wasn't like
Yeah.
It wasn't like we were. It was like, oh, hey, we're not going to get our money back.
Yeah.
They could have made out getting back.
I mean, this is robust. Now, the thing is with Endo, like people saying he doesn't fit the slot system, but again, we're not playing fast pace. This is not heavy metal. End of the day, as good as Grav is, he's not a DM. As good as Jones is, he's not a DM. As Matt, Sobo, none of these players. He's an out and out DM, and someone saying, "Oh, but we don't need a tackler. We don't. We Paul Maker. What do you mean we don't?"
I think that's poor. I don't.
Yeah.
No offense to those that are saying, because everyone's welcome to their opinions. I just think that's poor vision and poor insight as
exactly.
To saying that kind of comment. We can always use a DM. There's always going to be times where you want to close out a game and playing against a team that just you're not going to blow out the waters with a 3, 4, 5 goal lead or something like that. You're going to have to bring in a defensive player that's going to be able to hold it down. Maybe take those like situational fouls and the likes, professional fouls. Like that's my point. Like as in he's a professional enough to know that he's what needs to be done. And I think people underestimate his link up play. People underestimate his pass and the likes because I think he's a decent player. He's not a speed demon. He's not someone that's going to.
No, he's a good squad player. He facilitates what we need. He's a solid squad player. And when I heard that, I was thinking, well, it's not about because he doesn't have the pace. He doesn't need to have electric pace. He's better positionally than both. And I'm talking about a defensive aspect than Mac and Grav. They're not better players. Again, he's better positionally because he's more on the defensive side. He can read the game better in the defensive aspect, and he will sit there. He will sit there and sew the pocket. So my thing is this with people saying that Endo is a natural DM. He can play in the system. He can facilitate and give more protection for the back four to the link up to the attacking play. And the thing is with Endo, man, he's Mr. Reliable. He is Mr. Reliable. And one thing, Slot, for me this season, now I know he doesn't say a disrespect. He said, "Oh, he captains me. He comes in, he trains well. He come and does a job on the bench." I don't. No. I don't want to hear that. I want to see him start in certain games that he would need to start.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, I don't want it to be 10 minute here, 10 minute 15 there. Yeah.
You're going to lather him praise. Allow for him to get some accolades of starting some games.
Yeah, and that was. Yeah, and that was just my point. It was just rebuttal because I couldn't answer it in Brian's thing, but I just thought because you Endo, I just wanted to bring him up anyway in terms of
I spoke on Lots comments earlier in the show.
Yeah,
I did mention Endo previously before too because I thought that I thought Slot giving Endo the armband should, to those that are saying, "Oh, we don't need an Endo," should say a lot more than. Say a lot about the fact of how much they Slot appreciates him. I get someone might say, "Oh, well, it's just pageantry. He's in Japan, so of course he's going to do that." Something along those lines. You know what? He didn't have to do it. He doesn't have to do anything. He did do it though because Endo is a leader on this team, and I think that he might not be a vocal leader in the way of like having a real strong grasp on the English language so that he could like bark out orders like a Hendo. But he leads by example with his professionalism and his dedication and the things that he does on the pitch and how solid of a game he puts out there. And if anything, you could say all you want about being a talented player, for instance, but if you're a talented player, fantastic. If you look over to your left or to your right, or wherever Endo is on the pitch, and you see that guy who has less talent than you, maybe half the talent you have, but putting in twice the amount of energy, twice the amount of emphasis on the game, twice the amount of attention to detail on the pitch, that alone is leadership. That alone should inspire you to get your butt off the pine and actually do something, basically.
I'm hoping that this season Endo will get more action than he did last season, that we'll use him more. The fact that Ryan's missing on the opening day is interesting. The only thing we could do apart from that, put Endo there, is put McAllister there and play either Szoboszlai or Jones behind there.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it? There are options, really, aren't they? So I'd be going with Endo myself. I think it cause less disruption.
I think, unfortunately for Endo in this role, he still won't. He'll get possibly the role of being like, I don't want to call him a janitor because that might sound disrespectful, but he'll do cleanup in the sense of he'll be the closer. That's even better. You know.
Yeah, as Locke calls him.
You know, I think that way you could have a midfield where you have Dom, you have Wirtz, you have Gravy and Maka, or you can even substitute a Cujo in there, you know, because then I think in one way or another, you'll need that player to kind of hold it down in that first game. And I think that's what you'll see. At least that's my opinion on what I expect. To answer your question earlier that you asked Alante. But how'd you feel about Endo getting the armband? I thought it was cool. I think that it's just another sign of a club that continues to do some real class moves.
Yeah, it's a sign of respect, isn't it, for him to wear the armband like. You know, the club giving him respect to wear the armband like on his in his own.
And it was Van Dijk that gave it to him too, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Virgil's good like that. Virgil's very intuitive like that with teammates, like so. Yeah, he's been a great buy for us at the price, hasn't he? So let's hope we see more of him this season, because we should have seen more of him last season, from my point of view, to save Ryan's legs a little bit better. For it wasn't just Ryan; there was others like that seemed to run out of gas. You know, at the time, we all know, like when we were out of Europe and lost the cup final. But a few of them, like, you know, had just played too many games. He come out and admitted that Gravenberch shouldn't have started the Southampton game, didn't he? He said, I shouldn't have started Ryan today. So at least he acknowledges that, like, in there.
I think he said the same about Dom. I think he said the same about Dom, too. I think he said the same about Dom. One of those games, he said.
Yeah.
It might have been the Southampton game, too.
I'm sure he gets a lot from last season in terms of what he can put his players through minutes-wise. And hopefully this season will be a bit different. That, you know, there won't be any sign of us running out of gas at the critical time, like legs-wise, because that was a criticism around that time, wasn't it? That we just lethargic would be the word, I suppose. Like in the final against Newcastle, like, you know, they were half asleep, weren't they?
Yeah, I think me and Alante and JK were like the three musketeers against Slot towards the end of the season on his rotation, at least. I know a lot of people were very, very adamant about saying, oh, well, we're still going to win the league. We're still going to win the league and blah, 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 blah. But I mean, realistically, I think the way that he rotated the team, unfortunately, we could have had the league wrapped up earlier, I think, truthfully. And I also think that we could have pursued deeper into the FA Cup and the League Cup, if not the Champions League. I think it would have been difficult. It would have been difficult, but I still think that we could have outlasted PSG at home. I think we could have gotten at least a draw or some type of result that would have gotten us through to the next round. And then in that next round, I think we would have I think we would have had a real opportunity to bring home a seventh Champions League. Maybe you think different, but I honestly do think that. Yeah,
with us winning the league, like, you know, because we won the league quite early. If we'd have got past PSG, like, you know, we'd have had that. That would have been giving the players momentum, the fact that they knew they were going to win the league, like, in May. Because we did know, didn't we, like, quite early this season. It wasn't settled until the Spurs game, but everyone knew we'd won it long before that. So the players would have had that as well, wouldn't they, to motivate?
I wonder if we had won the league at the same moment, same period of time, with games to spare, in Champions League, and if we had made it to the Champions League final, what would our coach have done with rotation, what would he have done? What would have been the attitude, or at least the opinion of the Reds out there with our performances in those Premier League games? Would then those opinions have changed slightly? I know that, I mean, we all want to win. We get that. I know some people were saying, oh, who cares that we lost? And who cares that we, ended up really, I think we were like 2-2, I think, or something like that for the last 4 games or something like that towards the end of the season. Would the opinion have changed? Would your opinion have changed, Nalante? I know that you were critical of him, but would you have been stressing more so than not that we need to get some semblance of, being able to get some synergy in our team once again if we're going to go into a Champions League final?
Oh, if we have the run at the end, if we win the Champions League final.
Because Champions League final is the final game of the season. So
yeah, so the run that we had when we won the title, basically.
Yeah.
After we won the title. What I've had. Maybe a little bit, but I wouldn't be too worried because, again, I mean, once you win the title, the players focus, and the levels will drop. They think, you know what, and it's only human as a player. Naturally, Champions League final. I mean, I remember we won. Yeah, so
can I interject real quick? Can I interject something real quick? It'll be 2 seconds.
Cool.
Cool. And that's what you just said is why I'm emphasizing that question, or at least bringing that question up. Levels dropped. Arguably so, levels dropped. We all can understand that. Players are tired, or players just didn't really have the same focus anymore because we'd already won the league. However, levels or intensity or the ability to have that energy and vibe and all the other stuff is not a switch. So if anything, you'll need that energy to continue on, if not build towards that Champions League final. You disagree or agree?
Again, it's hard to say. You can win. We could have won all those games. We could have lost the Champions League final. 21-22, we came in good form, but we still lost the Champions League final. So it just depends how you look at it.
I was off because is that the year that Salah got judo thrown into the pitch? That year? What are you talking about?
No. The one we lost against Real Madrid. The 22 final. Yeah, 2022 final.
That was the year we lost against Real Madrid too. But I get what
yeah.
Courtois' finest moment, wasn't it?
That was when Courtois was playing.
Courtois, and that told you the story of the match, really, didn't it?
Yeah,
he did.
Okay.
Oh, mate, it done me in that it was delayed because I purposely didn't drink much. I went out to Liverpool City Centre with my brother and it was heaving. So we come back around here to watch it. And I thought, I won't drink loads, so I'm sober enough for the final. And that delay, I just started going like that.
But you can understand what I mean by it's not a switch. You can't intensity, focus, all that. It's not a switch. I get that the reason why we turned, a lot of those players had turned that switch off is because there was nothing left to play for. However, in that run, hypothetically, let's say we were to make it to the Champions League final, and most likely would have had to probably play a semifinal possibly in that run too at some point probably. But all the same, if we had already assured ourselves a Champions League final, would your opinion have changed about saying, oh, well, it doesn't matter that we're losing in the Premier League. It doesn't matter. We already wrapped it up. Or would you prefer those players to at least keep that mentality going, if not build upon that confidence to have towards that Champions League final? Because the last thing you want is that seed of doubt being oh, we just lost. We barely beat Southampton last week. Now we're about to go against, Inter Milan.
If we just stayed in the Champions League and got past PSG, then we could have rested players loads towards like the because what date does the semis of the Champions League take place? It's nearly right at the end of the season, and the semis. So we could have like, rested players for the semi, could have rested players for the final, if in readiness for the final. If we got there, like we could have done that last season if we just stayed in.
But yeah, so if it's not the champions, if it's not the finals, the semifinal, but you get what I'm going with in the sense of you need cohesion with the team and everything else. If there was something else to play for, would you have still been like, oh, well, who cares if we lose these games? Because he didn't really even rotate that heavily even in those games too. But what would have been your approach to that measure? Because I would like to hope that we are in that position again where we could wrap up the league early and be able to focus on that Champions League and figure out how do you navigate from being in that place. It's a question. If you have the answer in the chat, big up to K-Mac, by the way, for the raid. And those joining us from the K-Mac raid, thank you for joining us. Hopefully you can help us by, clicking that like button, helping out a fellow red, and getting us to at least to the 50 mark. And tell us what you think in the chat too. I mean, you're a part of the conversation as much as the panel. If the circumstances mirror themselves again, however, we get past that PSG hurdle that we failed to get over last time, and we do get into the semifinals, or we get into the finals, whichever comes first. Or obviously, we know what comes first, but I mean, like, as in whichever we had to go through. Would your opinions about having those games in between change? How would you go about the rotation? Are we saying to ourselves we need to like even more heavily rotate our players and not worry about it? Or is it about what Slot did for a good majority of the season, which is continue to put out the same team so that they could have some type of solidarity, have some fluidity amongst themselves, and be able to continue to build on that momentum?
Yeah, it's all about judgment in that case of the manager getting it right.
Right.
You rotate the players bit by bit. You don't rotate them all at the same time. We can rest one main player one weekend, the next main player the next weekend, as long as we can cover their absences. And that's how you do it, really, isn't it? Like bit by bit, try and make sure players are in the right condition. I'm sure he did learn loads from last season in terms of like the amount of effort needed. And he's a smart guy, isn't he? A smart coach. So hopefully this season will be even more deadly, like from that point of view, and that like we'll be up for it at exactly the right time of the season. And
I think it's an interesting question. It's one that I hope that we have the pleasure of having to handle or take on this year, because honestly, that's what would have happened. We had the fortunate ability to be like, oh, who cares about these last games? Other than those of us that wanted some type of point tally to be associated with. I know most of the people out there were like, oh, who cares about, that game? Who cares if we lost, if we lose this game or not, or who cares about that performance? If we got a draw, we got a loss, who cares? We already won the league. But does that still permeate even after he gets I was looking at Anfield Irishman's comment. Would it still permeate even after if we were in a competition still? I think it's important. I think that's very important.
We did used to do that years ago if we sewed the title up early, rest players in lieu of the upcoming European Cup final, which we were in quite a few in them days. But it was something we did then. We would rest players, if the league was sewn up early, which it was quite a lot in them days. It's just something managers do, isn't it? Like, they can't not really do it, can they?
And to go even further, Brian, I would hope that he gets not the same level of support Darwin did, to be honest with you. I hope that Ekitike gets even more support than Darwin did, because I don't think that Darwin got nearly the amount of support that he was deserved. So he's certainly by the match going fans, absolutely, but not by the online fans. So I hope he gets twice the number of level of support that Darwin did. I'm going to ask a good question here because we saw two halves to our right back situation. With Trent gone, this is the debate. Bradley looks solid, tucking inside, overlapping when needed, linking with Salah. Frimpong came on in the second half, turned it up a level, had a pinpoint assist in the second half, by the way, consistent runs. But they operate differently. We can all see that, and we can all be openly honest with that approach. These two players are not the same typecast in player. So is it Bradley's job to lose, or will Slot rotate them like different tools for different jobs? I'm hoping it's latter. However, who should start? Excuse me. Who should start if the season kicked off tomorrow? Bradley or Frimpong for you, Lee? Who should start if the season were to kick off tomorrow?
I'd go for Bradley just for the beginning games, and use Jeremy as a sub with his pace, and then change it up like after a few games, bring him in from the start and bring Bradley on in his place. Yeah, just change it up like in the early months of the season, like between the two of them. And it'll depend on the opposition and where we are in a particular game and who the opposition are, how they play, etc. But we're well stocked now, aren't we, in that position? It looks. I just hope Connor can stay fit because we have had fitness problems last season. But if he can't, then Jeremy's there, isn't he, to step in?
Who do you start, Nalante?
Yeah, I'm with Lee. Bradley starts for me.
Okay. That's interesting. I think Frimpong is how can I put it? He might be a better player off the bench. If it would be more so to my next question then. Does Slot system require different profiles depending on the opposition? And what I was going to say with like the difference between the two players, and I don't know if the chat agrees with this or not. Again, interact with us in the chat if you can. We do include your questions or include your comments in the conversation. What I was going to say is, being that Frimpong's a more speedy, more fluid motion when going forward than it is to Bradley, who might be a little bit better defensively than Frimpong. Not saying Frimpong's horrible, but it's saying he might be better defensively than Frimpong. Might have the edge on him. In that case, if you're looking to shut down a game or something like that, maybe you do you start with Frimpong and then you end with Bradley. But if you're searching for a goal, maybe you put on a Frimpong instead of a Bradley. To have those options, I think is ideal for this team. Do you agree, Nalante?
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree, man. Yeah, it's just again, it's a different team-wise. Obviously, Trent. We used to Trent for how many years? 6, 7 years. With the quality of football, I guess we've got to adapt. And obviously, Bradley has played since 2 years ago, so he's got an understanding a bit with Salah. Obviously, we're going to move the ball differently, and Frimpong's a different outlet. So see how he combines with the right back or right wing. So yeah, it's just different options. And from what I could see from the game the other day, again, it might not be the case, but Salah was pulling back to more out wide, more of a creator in a sense, or getting the other main central players into play. So it'd be interesting. It'd be fascinating. It'd be very fascinating.
Okay. How about for you, Lee? is that player profile I just set out there like match with the possibly the way that he should use them? Like Buffalo Soldier says it's
No doubt, told you.
yeah. It's definitely different profiles for different teams. Red Archer
100%.
says Slot might surprise us with different systems now that he's getting his own players.
I think he's going to. Yeah, I think he's going to not surprise us this season, but he'll keep us on our toes, like guessing what he's going to do, and think there'll be lots of moving parts as well, like in this new team, like players getting into. It's just going to be good. I think. Like I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be excellent. Just with what we've got so far, not even counting any further signings, like Wirtz, Ekitike, yeah, sounds good to me. Frimpong and Kirkhouse. It's going to have a new look to it, the team, isn't it? It's going to be good to see something new. I mean, I loved Jurgen Klopp's reign, but like I was waiting to see something new. I got a bit tired of him. It was football. I wanted to see something new, and we got that with Arnie. It changed. And people moan a little bit, say, "Oh, boring as well." It's winning football, mate. It's winning football. That's all. That's all I'm interested in. I don't think it's boring. Arnie's football. There's loads of boring teams out there. We aren't one of them, mate. Boring my ass.
Okay. Well, with the Diaz sale and the transfer talk, FSG is cashing in again. We all know that. Well, he needs, by the way, Buffalo's, he needs to get, we do need to get our defense a little bit tighter than it actually is right now. It needs to be more fine-tuned. We can't be giving away the ball as easily as we did with our keeper, or allowing for players to, run in the way that they did for that first goal. But what I was going to bring up is Lucho, my Colombian brethren, is gone. 75 million euros to Bayern. 190 million so far in sales this window. That's how you fund a rebuild while still staying competitive. Ekitike, Frimpong, Mamardashvili, who counts since he was, I know, last summer, but still, he still counts on this one. Kirkes, it's adding up to be a very, very good 2 summers of transfers. And now we have this vice captaincy question. Slot says only the player knows. Slot says only the player knows who it is. He's already had the conversation with them. But it is allegedly between Curtis Jones, Mohamed Salah, and Rabo. Who gets the captaincy from those options for you? Who do you think is the odds-on favorite from those choices? I'll put the question in the chat for you guys. That's what's being reported, at least, is that it's down to these 3 players. Who gets the nod, Alante, if you had to choose between these 3 players?
Robbo for me, but I think he'll go to mine.
Okay. MM thinks Salah. Philip says Salah. Going from these choices, of course. Brian says no way Jones is on that list in his opinion, but it is the case. That's what's being reported. I'm not an ITK, but the person that put that as being so is ITK, and he has gotten things right. So that's why I put that as a 3. People are saying Curtis. I get it. You got to also recognize Curtis is the scouser in the team.
Scouts are in that team. The
Look,
Scouts are
you
in
want
that
your
team.
your vice captain to be on the pitch if it's all possible, and the only one of them
Curtis
three
was
to be on the pitch
It
regularly.
shows how if that's the case, how highly values Curtis as a player.
yeah,
And it
good.
goes to show if that's
Very
the
well
case.
could be.
Yeah.
You want your captain, your
Um,
vice captain, to be somebody who can talk to the referee, or at least attempt to try and talk to the referee, as it is nowadays. Like,
Red Chili says
I don't know how
Robbo.
suited Mo is to that, like getting on the ref's case and badgering them over things. Like, I'm not quite sure about that one.
Red Chili says Robbo. Anfield Irishman says he's happy to be wrong if he is with that assertion about Curtis not being on the list. Red Chili says Curtis, he agrees with Irishman. He's question marking that one. Buffalo Soldier said how Curtis Jones on there. No respect for the scouts and the team. Come on. Curtis was a selection, he was often a selection. And you don't have to be a player that plays every game. Because Milner wasn't someone that played, he was our vice captain and he didn't start in every game.
No, so I don't really like goalies as keepers or vice captains. I always like centre halves or a DN, like a player that can see the play better. So I was made up when Virgil become captain. Like
Emily Husky
to be captain,
saying that Salah, because he's the only one of the three guaranteed minutes. Buffalo Soldier, Salja. I guess you could say it like that. Salja. Sabaslai is his pick since he's a captain for Hungary. Emily Heskey says, Curtis on that list is a joke. He's nowhere near good enough. Do you have to be good enough to be on that list like that?
Not really. It's what
I think it's about I think where you guys are overlooking the Curtis Jones thing too. I'm not saying that he's a shoo-in to be the captain, but the Scouser thing alone, you separate yourself from the Scouser thing alone. Why you could possibly see it as being so is because I really think that having it be about Jones could be a connection to Jones's connection to the youth in the group. A lot of those players might look at the same way a lot of those players looked at Trent as being, because there are people that didn't deserve the vice captaincy. But at least Trent had a real connection to the younger groups of players as well. And it could be a real connection like that. I was surprised to see that Maka wasn't a name on the list, to be honest with you, Red Chili.
I think he'd be a decent vice captain because he's sort of like got respect, because he's not like a player that shouts and balls. Like, he's competitive and that, but he's respectful with referees. I think he could potentially be a good vice captain. And he would be on the pitch as well, like, wouldn't he, with Virgil more often than not? So he could tag team the ref, like, get in his ear, but respectfully, with respect.
Yeah. Well, that's a question. I mean, yeah. Out of all the three, I can understand where Emily Husky is saying. He's saying, you do have to be good enough. Can you imagine Curtis being vice captain over Salah or any of the other midfielders? I know Henderson and Milner both played with Salah, played with Bobby, played with Mane. He's played with.
James. A lot of people didn't like him, the captain. I tell you,
they played with VVD. They played with Ali. Like, all those players are all better players than Milner and Henderson. Some could say combined. Okay. And yet they still weren't given that captaincy or vice captaincy. There's sometimes about your role in the locker room. That's all.
Yeah, and sometimes the armband is just one thing, but there's leaders off the pitch. But sometimes the armband is just a bit overstated, you know.
Yeah, there's different types of captains, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like, there's captains who lead by example, sort of thing, and put like everything in, and then you have like a captain like Ronaldo, who's just a massive name, and like he inspires others because he's Ronaldo. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, Heskey, yeah, one of my favorite Liverpool players. But yeah, fair enough. But we get overthinking it too deep. Yeah. I mean, look, he's just an option. You probably he ain't gonna get anyway if it is the case anyway. But I remember even when Steven Gerrard was given the captaincy, and there was a little bit of uproar because Hippier was more of a captain than Gerrard at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Gerrard grew in the role, became the player he was because Hippier was a very good captain for us. I remember there was division against Liverpool fans, and look what he done for us. So, listen, it is what it is. The armband is, there's always leaders on and off. I don't really look too deep in it. Yeah, we can say this person should be captain. Not a lot of people wanted Endo captain, but he done all right. Was he my first choice? No, but listen, mate, who cares who's captain at the end of the day? As long as we win trophies, that's all that matters.
I asked this question. So, is it all dependent upon Ekitike's performance in this next preseason game? I'm sure for some. However, unless he comes out and does a real measure of gets a hat trick or a brace or something like that, people are probably going to be critical. Who should start? Who should start the Community Shield game? Much less who should start even the Bournemouth game. If you had to pick, who are you starting? Lante, who are you picking?
Well, up front,
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be Ekitike. There's no one really else.
If Darwin's still with the team, obviously.
It's still the team. Yeah, it's just got to be him, really. It just has to be him. Unless we're going to do some mad one and play with Wirtz in the false nine and all that business. So it just has to be him. We haven't really got anyone else.
You got two choices. You can start Darwin as well, but
I mean, let's be honest. So he's not going to start Darwin, and he's pushing to him. Yeah,
you don't think so?
I mean,
you can say there's no one else. That's not.
Okay. So Darwin is there, but what I'm saying is, that he's not going to start. He's not going to. He will hopefully.
You don't think he's going to start after Pastore? Yeah.
Yeah.
You can even replace that Bournemouth game. That's the starting of the season, but you can even say for the Community Shield against Crystal Palace, who starts.
For me?
Yeah, Lee, you can answer it.
Ekitike, yeah. Ekitike, Wirtz, Gakpo, Salah, McAllister, Gravenberch, Canate, Virgil, Bradley, Kirkes, and Alisson. That's the way we start the season. But obviously Gravenberch is missing from Bournemouth, so he'll have to drop out in favour of Endo probably. But that's the way I'd start the season, yeah. Unless we buy Isak, then we have got a conversation over who starts, whether it's Ekitike or Isak. But for now, Ekitike at this point.
Okay. Who leads us if VVD is gone tomorrow? Surely Slot isn't giving that to Robbo or Jones in MM's opinion. Okay. I think Robbo is Robbo is obviously a leader, captain of Scotland, and has been our captain as well in some matches during the season.
Mo.
Hmm?
No, I was just looking at MM's question. If VVD's gone tomorrow, who's leading us? Well, Mo.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But who knows? Who knows? We'll find out
I don't
anyway.
see Mo as like a vocal leader though. I think he's
No,
more of
I
a
don't. But again, certain managers, like Shiro's never for me captain material, but because of their star powers in terms of what they do on the pitch and just for whatever in it. I mean, he's not really, and I wouldn't put him. But I'm just thinking in terms of hindsight, what he would do. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll find. I guess we'll find out. So he's already told the person that whoever the first captain is. So we find out very soon.
Yeah, we'll find out very. I wonder if it'll be because most likely VVD will either not start or start the next preseason game, but not play the entire game. It'd be interesting to see who dons that captain armband once he's off the pitch.
Mm.
Crab thinks that Nunez will be gone. So Ekitike is the answer for him. All right. Red Chili thinks Ekitike will be that player. All right. Hands down. The choice has been made. Interesting. Well, I hope that he picks up form in this next match and gets some real solidarity with the team. I just want the player. I care less if Ekitike starts or Nunez starts, to be honest with you. I just want the player that's the most informed with his teammates out there that can best help us to win. I'm not interested in trying to force a player onto the pitch simply because you don't like that other player. That's the other option, or you don't, or you just don't, or you're willing to deal with at times what we dealt with in Diego's progress last year, which is seeing a player not in form have to find his form in real time during the match. I really am not interested in seeing that happen. I'd rather just go with who's got the hot hand out there and just go with that. But people have their opinions.
I really hope Newcastle can persuade Sesko by offering him more money than United. Just say, look, we'll pay you whatever you want. Just come.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's all right. Well, if they can't, then direct them, tell them to give Chelsea 75 mil for Jackson and call it a day. Get Wissa.
Sorry. Last question for you guys, and we kind of answered this already, but I'm just going to double check to make sure the consensus is correct with this one. Should Rio stay with the first team all season? I know Nalante's answer was he should bounce back and forth between youth academy. MM says yes. Lee, should Rio stay in the first team all season?
No. But he should be in it a lot, as much as possible.
Okay. Red Chili says yes. Rasta Crab says he's on the fence with this one. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Do you want to stick? You want to? I'll let you answer the question, Alante, if you want. Do you want to throw it in there again? Do you think he should stay with the first team all season?
Yeah, likely not for me. He should be in the academy, but only come back for maybe, depending where we are, cup games, or if we've got a slight injury, that game that.
And it doesn't mean that he plays. It doesn't mean that he plays. Just as MM said, not necessarily playing in every game, but training with the first team.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're looking at that context, then yeah, but mainly in the academy and just cup games, and then maybe end of the season, let's say, when everything's wrapped up and hopefully we've done a back-to-back, then yeah, you could give him, because I just feel again, it's hard because he's done well, but look at the other players like Doak has never had the chance to express what he can fully be with us, so I'd rather just him in and out, and then the following season we can unleash him and just let him, that's it, you get more game time.
Okay. Yeah, it should be interesting to see very interesting to see what we do. Buffalo Salja, Ja as a Salja, says keep him as a sub and in cup games. Emily Heskey says no, but he should definitely be in and around the first team.
I think he should be allowed to go with a few Premier League defences as a sub in games. When we've got subs left to use and he's on the bench, why not? Let him have a go at a few Premier League right backs, late in games when they're tiring. I'd like to see that. But it'll mainly be cup games, I think. If he's going to start at all, it'll be cup games. But I could definitely see him coming on in the Premier League, and having a go at right backs.
Yeah.
If that's the case, put on him. Yeah, go ahead.
Finish this.
No, I was just going to say, if that's the case, mate, put him and Ben Doak on.
Put Ben Doak on?
Yeah.
Wow. Ben Doak is a good player. I hope to see. I don't know where he's going to end up, but I'm hoping that wherever it does, whether it's with the first team, whether it's with another team on a transfer, I do wish him the best. Well, guess that's what we're going to call a wrap because we're coming up on a 2-hour mark. Shout out to K-Mac for the raid. Big up to those that were flying high with us in the Liverbird this entire time. Big up to you from the gate. I know some OGs out there. And if you're new to the channel, big up. Definitely, hopefully, just do us a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button too. Be cool. What up, JK in the house? Big up. OG in the house.
Yeah, big up, JK, always.
Well, from Rio's breakout moment to Hugo's early struggles, from Slot's tactical reflections to the great leadership of Watoto Endo being appreciated by all, Liverpool's preseason has given us plenty to talk about. And the real season hasn't even kicked off yet. Looking very forward to that Community Shield. Looking forward to even the next preseason game because we'll get a real sense of what and who we should look to have that last opportunity to make any type of impact or influence on our coach. As always, we'll be right here and with every twist and turn and transfer that we get on the books because this isn't just a channel, it's a community. So that's why we always ask for you to do us the duty or your own duty, but also more so the privilege and honor of hitting that like button and the subscribe button. Obviously hit the notification button if you can so that you know when we're live. So before you go, as I said, do us a favor, smash the like button if you haven't already. Help us hit that 50 like target if we haven't hit it already. Push this episode to more Reds around the world because that's the key goal. Subscribe if you're new. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let us know what you think about anything that we spoke on today, whether it is about the vice captaincy, whether it's about Rio, whether it's about Ekitike, or if it's about Wirtz, or it could be about anything you like. Just drop a message in the comment section, and we will certainly do our best to answer you as quickly and expediently as possible. This is Liverpool 12th Man Show. I'd like to thank Lee and Alante for jumping in and helping out on the panel today. Big up, Lee.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, nice one. Good.
Okay. All right, I had to make sure I wasn't on mute there for a second. All right. And then and big up to Nalante too. Thank you, brother, for jumping in and helping out.
Oh, come on, all the time, man. One of the realest, man. Listen, guys, I'm going to keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. Well, I can't get blue because I'm black. Black don't crack. But anyway, Yeah, look, like, share, and subscribe. Please get these numbers up on this panel, on this chat. 12 man, he's a real one. He puts in the work. He's poured out his heart to you guys. It's not about, we're not going to be like other content creators who want to be stars and do super chats. No, he's a man of the people. He loves doing this, man. He supports the club just like all of us. So please like, share, and subscribe. And let's just put some numbers up. Let's let the algorithm grow. And believe me, 12 panel, he's got big things coming up, man. Big things that he wants to present to you guys. So big up a chat and peace out. We'll see you in the next time, guys.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can get up these numbers to a level where I can invite some of my other friends onto the show to kind of give us some guest appearances. So it'll be kind of cool. But before then, or until then, we'll be back with more transfer talk, tactical breakdowns, everything red. Again, shout out to the panel, shout out to the chat, K-Mac, shout out to the OGs, some of the other panelists as well. That weren't on today's panel, but are always a part of the family here, JK and the Irishman out there. So, until next time, up the Reds, and as always, you'll never walk alone. All right, guys, we'll see you soon, and definitely take care.
Peace.